say get inside of your head now. Just walk away and try to keep it cool. You only live.
Good afternoon, welcome aboard. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yep.
Before we go, I got a super important question, looking for a thumbs up if the answer is yes. The question is, did everyone receive the safety briefing on the video today? Okay, cool.
I fly above the trees, over the seas, in all degrees, to anywhere I please. Oh, I want to get away. I want to fly away. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I want to get away. I want to fly away. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Let's go and see the stars, the Milky Way, or even Mars, where it could just be ours. Let's fade into the sun, let your spirit fly. We'll be at one, just for a little fun. Oh, oh, oh yeah! I want to get away. I want to fly away. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I want to get away. I want to fly away. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I gotta get away.
Alright, I'm with you, and a couple things before we begin. I got air conditioning, thank goodness you can twist and turn those vents above your head. I got 4 video cameras, I got 3 that look out front, I got 1 that looks inside. I am making a video that Blue Hawaiian offers for sale at the end of the tour. On the video, all the music, all the narration, any questions or comments or screams you guys may have will all be on that video.
I want to get away.
Speaking of questions, up front, Elisa and Jason, you each have your own microphone. In the back, Carl, you have your own, and then back left, Kevin and Sheila, you guys are sharing one microphone. Questions are welcome on any topic about the islands, about the helicopter, about the pilot. Anything is fair game except for one topic. Politics. No questions on politics, okay? We'll be good. We got time for some introductions. And back, Kevin, Sheila, how about you guys? Where are you from and what brings you here to Big Island?
Kevin from Michigan, and my wife Sheila. And
From Michigan. I didn't quite hear that last part.
we're here for our 30th wedding anniversary.
Wedding anniversary, awesome. Are you guys, is everyone on the cruise ship or not?
Yes.
Everyone?
Yeah, we are.
Okay, cool. Happy anniversary.
Thank you.
And back, Carl, how about you? Where are you from and what brings you here? Well,
I live from West Virginia to begin with, but we're living in Oahu now. I'm working there, and I'm retired Air Force. I was wondering what your airspeed was.
right now I'm cruising at 105 knots. Got a 14 knot headwind. Air Force, where were you stationed? Probably multiple places, I assume.
Yes, Spain and all around the States, but never made it out to this part of the world.
Yeah. I worked, one of my favorite jobs, I was doing contract work for Air Force out of Eielson Air Force Base in Alaska. So. Worked there for 3.5 years.
How long you been doing this?
I've been flying for Blue for like 2.5 years. Before that, I was up in Alaska for over a decade flying. But my favorite job up there in Alaska was probably flying that Air Force job. I loved it. It was great. Elisa, Jason, how about you guys? Where are you from and what brings you here? I know a cruise boat, right? Cruise ship.
We are from Seattle, and we just decided to take a cruise just because.
Just because? Are you Microsoft millionaires?
No, I wish.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I'm from the state of Alaska. My name is John. I'm here for work. but it's a really easy job. Piece of cake, actually. And what brings us here together today is the Big Island of Hawaii. And on the Big Island of Hawaii, we got 5 volcanoes altogether. Hilo, where we took off, is built on a volcano called Mauna Loa. But right about here, Kaloli Point, this is kind of the transition area between Mauna Loa behind us and then Kilauea volcano, which is ahead of us. And Kilauea, that's the volcano that erupted last year. You guys probably all heard about that eruption. That eruption started in May of last year. It ended in the first week of September. It ran for 100 days. When that stopped in the first week of September of 2018, we don't have any lava flowing on the island at the present moment. The last eruption, it's probably going to end up to be a once-in-a-lifetime thing. Not that we haven't had lots of eruptions before, and not that we're going to have more again in our lifetimes, but it just depleted a lot of the lava out of Kilauea. So the lava level...
How is the lava level measured?
That's a good question. I don't think I really know the answer to that question. Now they monitor that magma underneath with a number of methods. The Kilauea probably the most heavily monitored volcano in the entire world. But they have sensors that monitor seismic activity. They have sensors that monitor the gases that are emitted, sensors that monitor the tilt of the land, because as magma comes and goes beneath the surface, as it comes, it literally pushes up on that surface, raising it, and then as that magma leaves, the land will deflate or even collapse. I suppose one way they could get a measure of the lava is they have a really good idea of where the epicenter of earthquakes occur. And earthquakes here in Hawaii are caused by magma moving below the surface. So they get a lateral location of an earthquake, but they also get a vertical depth of that earthquake. So that's going to give you a good idea of how deep that magma is. I'm sure there's other ways. I don't know exactly know. So what we're going to do initially is head out towards the easternmost part of the island. It's directly off our nose. It's called Cape Kumakahi. And if you have good eyes, you can see a lighthouse out there. That lighthouse is sitting on a lava flow that was created in the 1960s. And we're going to see the source of that volcanic eruption, the 1960 volcanic eruption, here in just a moment. It's a place called Kapoho Crater, and I'll point that out here in just a little bit. But the general plan of attack here is to fly out towards the easternmost part of the island. We're going to fly quickly over the 1960 flows, and then just beyond the 1960 flows are the flows that came from the most recent eruption, the eruption that's centered at a place called Leilani Estates. Leilani Estates is located right on what we call the East Rift Zone of Kilauea. The East Rift Zone is the most active area of volcanism on the volcano, the most active area of volcanism in the state, and even the most active area of volcanism in the entire world. Because prior to the most recent eruption, which lasted 100 days, there was another eruption from the Pu'u'o event, which we're going to check out second. That eruption had been going on continuously since 1983, so 3.5 decades.
Do you know what the recorded, the longest lava flow is?
The second longest continuous lava flow is here on the Big Island. It's the 1859 lava flow that comes off Mauna Loa, and it terminates north of Kona. It beaches out there north of Kona. The exact distance, it's probably around 35 miles or so. I don't know the longest one. It's not on the Hawaiian Islands, though. Do you happen to know it? No. So when I said longest continuous eruption site, I meant longest in terms of duration as far as that Pu'u event. It laid down lava flows that were 35 or 33 square miles in size. We're going to check that out, like I said, after we check out the most current eruption in the 1960 flows. So here's the 1960 flows coming up right down here off the right-hand side. And the source of that, if you look out to the right, there's kind of a low-lying Pu'u out there, a hill that has that big crater in the middle of it. So you can see one side of that wall kind of gone, the lava poured out there and out towards the ocean, downhill seeking the path of least resistance. So the 60 flows below us. If you look ahead of us, though, you're going to see a roadway that goes kind of from right to left out to the lighthouse that's down here on the left-hand side. The lava flows on the other side of that roadway, and on the other side of this little vegetation. That is a lava flow from the most recent eruption, the eruption that came from the Leilani States. The most recent eruption, if you look along the east rift zone, so past the Kapoho crater, there's an area of venting coming from lava flows at about our 1 o'clock position out there. That was Leilani Estates still smoking out there. That was the source of last year's eruption. One of those lava flows came right towards us. It kind of surrounded the Kapoho crater, so it kind of overflowed the 60 flows and then went right into the Kapoho crater itself. The roadway here is brand new. They rebuilt it out along the new lava flows right down there. And inside the Kapoho crater, a lake had formed called Green Lake. It was one of the biggest lakes in Hawaii as the new lava flows wrapped over the 60 flows and went into the Kapoho crater. It went right into that lake, Green Lake, and evaporated one of the largest lakes in Hawaii in 90 seconds. Poof, it was gone. So the lava flows here below us, altogether from the new eruption site, about 13 square miles in size. And the biggest lava flow is the second last lava flow. That's the one we're flying right over. And now off the left-hand side, you can see Kapoho crater where Green Lake was, and then the new flows as it came over the 60s and on into Kapoho crater. The roadway, like I said, just they actually just painted that yellow line, so I don't believe the roadway is open yet, but they're preparing to open it.
There were homes destroyed here?
Oh, I missed that question, I'm sorry.
There were homes destroyed here underneath us?
Yeah, all this out here was kind of an agricultural area, so there were farms and homes destroyed to the tune of 700 homes altogether that were destroyed in these lava flows. The largest, when it fanned out here, it's 4 miles long from left to right. That was kind of the largest of it. So if you can imagine right at the very end of the eruption, a big 4-mile wide, 50-foot high wall of lava just kind of moving down the hill inexorably. Very, very slowly. You could crawl faster than it was moving, but it just took out everything in its path. It was about 50 feet thick, just nothing left. We're flying basically over the old coastline here. So off to the left, that would be new land. So as that lava flowed off the side of the edge of the island, it kind of built up a bench. And the new land was created, totally just appended to the island to the tune of 875 acres of new land in just 100 days. So that was the tally, 700 homes destroyed, 875 acres of new land. So the Hawaiians might think of it as a balance, you know, for every house or structure that was destroyed, 1 acre of new land created. And then the eruption site now, you can see a little bit more clearly off the right-hand side. You can see all that venting out there. If you just follow these lava flows with your eyes up to the right, it all kind of comes together up on the east rift zone, that ridge line with the venting out there. Up there in the eruption site, there's 24 separate fissures. The largest fissure was called Fissure 8, which is located on the westernmost part of that lava flow. Here's the end of the second and largest lava flow. And right on the end of it, there's a brand new beach. That's called Pohoiki Beach. They've already put up 2 lifeguard stations there. That beach did not exist. As that lava poured into the water, it kind of exploded into various sizes, particles, some sand-size particles of volcanic glass, which kind of coalesced there to form Pohoiki Beach. And so now off the left-hand side, you got Pohoiki Beach. And then looking down across that vast and largest lava flow from last year. 4 miles from Pohoiki Beach all the way out to the lighthouse. And much of that new land as it poured off. And then the eruption site right off the nose now. You might see a tower out there in and amongst some green buildings. That's the Puna Geothermal Venture out there. Geothermal power plant. It was producing about 20% of our electricity. It was destroyed or partially destroyed. They just put up that new tower there. What they do is they sink a basketball-sized hole down into the ground. They just keep drilling and drilling and drilling until they encounter compressed steam, or not steam, but volcanic gases actually. And then those gases come up and spin turbines, and so they'll generate electricity that way. The new eruption, it depleted a lot of the magma levels underneath the volcano. And so I'm kind of curious if they're going to encounter pressurized gases down there, because the magma levels have dropped considerably here since the last eruption. Last year's eruption pumped out a tremendous amount of lava. We haven't seen anything like it for about 500 years. And so the magma levels here really depleted. It's going to take a while, I believe, before Kilauea kind of repressurizes and recharges and erupts again.
That's the venting up to the right over there?
Yep, that's it, right over there. And, well, not the venting that you see at 2 o'clock, that's beyond last year's eruption site. So last year's eruption site is 90 degrees off to the right. You can see a few remnant homes out there. That is what's left of Leilani Estates. Most of Leilani Estates was on the other side of that small ring of homes up there. 80% of that town is under 50 feet of lava. The venting you see out here is we're kind of paralleling the east drift zone. So the east drift zone is marked clearly by all that venting and all the small hills that you see. It just basically runs parallel to the coastline. But that venting there is steam. As water kind of percolates down into that east drift zone, it gets heated up by magma below or by heated rocks below and comes back up as steam. So we're going to parallel the east drift zone, again marked by those that line of pu'us out there, and we're going to fly up the coastline past a town called Kalapana and then out to a new set of lava flows that were laid down by the Pu'u vent, which we talked about earlier. The Pu'u vent was the longest continuous, in terms of years, eruption site in the whole world. It ran for 3.5 decades. And the Pu'u vent laid down more lava. It laid down 33 square miles of lava as opposed to 13 square miles. But it took 3.5 decades to do that. So it pumped out lava longer, but at a much slower rate. And so it didn't deplete the lava underneath Kilauea like this most recent eruption did, or it did it at a rate where it could kind of be replenished from below and kind of have that long, consistent type eruption.
I beg and plead, singing, come out
why do they call this the Ring of Fire?
Well, the Ring of Fire, as I understand it, is the area of volcanism that surrounds the west coast of North America up to Alaska and then back down the east coast of Asia, including Japan. That's my understanding of it. Because those type of volcanoes are, they call it the Ring of Fire because you have subduction zones in those areas. As one Pacific plate, or as the Pacific plate undergoes the North American plate, or in the Asia, I don't know the name of that plate there, but it kind of subducts down, and there's a lot of friction between those moving plates, and that creates that melts the rock and creates the lava there. So that's my understanding of what the Ring of Fire is called. Out here in the middle of the Pacific, this would be separate and distinct from that, and the volcano is created from a different fashion. The magma here is sourced not from friction of plates that occur along the Ring of Fire, but there's a hole in the mantle of the Earth from which magma is coming out and working its way to the surface. There's a different kind of volcano altogether. The volcanoes out here are called shield-type volcanoes, which are distinct from the pyroclastic volcanoes that occur in the Ring of Fire. So over there, Ring of Fire, you get these big, huge, explosive-type volcanoes. Here in Hawaii, they're a little bit more laid back. They don't go tens of thousands of feet up into the atmosphere.
Are these specific to Hawaii?
Yes. Well, I mean, let me think if there's something comparable. That's a great question. You got lots of great questions today. I don't know if there's a comparable area on the Earth where you get this type of eruption. Like, for example, Iceland, that's a place where the plates are splitting apart, but it's a little different mechanism. The big hole underneath Hawaii, no one really knows why there's that hole in the mantle, although there's some speculation that it could have been a big asteroid that came down here and plummeted into the Pacific, hitting the mantle and opening it up. That's just a theory.
These houses that are down here off this roadway, is that land that they owned before the lava flow?
Yeah, so didn't have a chance to point it out, but take a look at those homes over there to the right. These, hold on, I gotta make a radio call. So the buildings that you see over to the right, that's the town of Kalapana. So these lava flows are 1990 flows, and it came from the Pu'u event, which is over to our left. So in 1990, these flows wiped out about 60% of that town. So many of the structures you see out there are rebuilt on the lava flows that literally destroyed them out there. And then I'll show you one more thing. The national park, so private lands extend out to the easternmost part of the island from here. So that's all private lands where people can build, buy and purchase homes and things like that. But out in this direction, this is all national park. So you don't have many buildings or homes or structures out here. Kalapana is kind of the edge of it, with one exception. If you come here, you see these islands of trees right here. These islands of trees are what we call kapukas. They're just kind of areas that somehow Madame Pele missed in the last 3.5 decades. But this is what the island should be out here. It should be rainforest. But if you look really closely in these kapukas, there's an old roadway that runs through it. You can kind of see that roadway really clearly down here, to the left, and then to the right. We call it the road to nowhere, but this was the Royal Gardens subdivision, and it's just kind of a twist of fate. One of the first lava flows that came down off the Pu'u vent came down there and wiped out Royal Gardens. There's about 40 homes out there that were destroyed. But now we move into National Park, and so there wasn't much in the way of home sites out this way. But the lava flows that we're seeing, you're looking at 33 square miles of lava flows that were created over 3.5 decades. From the Pu'u event. We're going to go right on up to the Pu'u event and check it out.
Some of the coloring on the lava flows look different. Is that from new lava versus old lava?
Exactly. So out here on the surface, I can't tell you, I don't know the age of all the lava flows, but I can tell you as a general rule, the darker the color of the lava, the more recent the lava flow. That's kind of it. But anything out here on the surface would be 83 through last year, 2018, because we had lava flows out here continuously through all those years. If you look down there, two kinds of lava. We can see the smooth and ropey, what we call pahoehoe, and then you also see some rough patches with a different color. So look over to the right, see how the material of the lava is just different. That really brown stuff, it's kind of rough and rocky. whereas the stuff that surrounds it kind of smooth and ropey, more like glass. Those are the two major kinds of lava that we have here on the island. Pahoehoe, which is the smooth stuff, and the A'a, which is the rough stuff. It's really the same material, the most common rock on the face of the planet. It's called basalt. So here's a little A'a patch right here in and amongst the Pahoehoe. What determines whether it's smooth and ropey Pahoehoe or the really rough A'a, like right down there to the right? It's the physical characteristics, most important, the temperature of the lava when it flows. So Pahoehoe starts at about 2,000 degrees before it cools. The A'a starts at about 1,600 Fahrenheit before it cools. So the culprit, the source of all this, right off the nose, that is called the Pu'o vent, and that is, or was, the longest continuous eruption site in the entire world. Rest in peace, it's done. To the right, you got a little bit of venting here, but this is just steam, regular old steam. It's water percolating down. And then the water kind of percolates down, gets heated up by magma that's still down there.
Is that why some of these lava flows are concave? Is because there's magma flowing underneath it?
Yeah, so when this was active, magma was flowing, seeking the path of least resistance coming downhill. It was mostly flowing in what we call lava tubes. And it's like the whole network of lava tubes out here. And you'll see skylights looking down into the lava. So you see these big holes like right below us to the right. That's a skylight where the lava tube is collapsed on the surface. We're kind of getting a bird's eye view down into those lava tubes. But then the lava would kind of break out to the surface. When it did that, it would cool off really rapidly. And a breakout would only last a matter of hours to a matter of days. This is the culprit Pu'o vent, the longest continuous eruption site in the entire world. Rest in peace, it's done. It ended in May of last year. Great lava tube down here to the left. Now here, this isn't steam, these are volcanic gases. There is magma down there, but not visible from the surface. It's hidden. But this is hydrogen sulfide mixed up with water, mixed up with sulfur dioxide, water vapor, and carbon dioxide. Not something you want to breathe. Breathe in enough concentration, you die. It's poisonous. And my helicopter engine would stop running, so I don't go into that stuff. But you may get some hints of sulfur here as we fly around the vent. And then you'll see some of the monitoring equipment we talked about later. You see all solar powered gas monitors, seismic monitors, tilt meters, and even webcams down there monitoring the tilt of the land. We talked about that before as well.
Smoke up in the sky. Pretty soon we'll learn to fly. Let me hear you now. I don't know.
A lot of venting material today here, kind of making it hard to look right on down into that. But if you could look down into that hole, if that venting had stopped or diminished, it's about an 800 or 900 foot hole. You're kind of getting a look at it right there. But it goes down 800 or 900 feet, and that hole there is new. It used to be a shallow crater with lava at the top of this thing, and then from here it would go down in those lava tubes like we talked about. But on May 3rd of last year, this collapsed, and so it was a shallow crater. Is now a big, huge, smoking 800-foot hole. Why did it collapse? Because the new eruption site, it drew away or drained the magma that was below here to feed that that eruption site, and so the magma levels here depleted, leaving behind an emptiness or a gap, and then the ground or the surface of this thing just collapsed right on down into it.
I hope there's rum. Not to worry, monsoon come.
All right, let's get out of here before the weather closes us in.
I don't know.
So again, 33 square miles, that would be about the size of Washington, D.C. Don't you wish we could transfer all these lava flows from here directly to Washington, D.C. when Congress was in session? Just take care of everything.
No politics.
Oh yeah, that's right, I'm sorry. This is Kupa Aina Ha right here, these big holes in the ground. So for a brief time back in the 1990s, the eruption site kind of paused there at Pu'o and then began emerging right here, Kupa Aina Ha. That lasted for about 6 months, and then the eruption went back out to Pu'o. So the idea I'm trying to convey here is that along this east drift zone, things are very, very dynamic. You know, I can't tell you where and when Kilauea is going to erupt next, but pretty darn sure it's going to be along that east drift zone somewhere. That'd be the most dangerous place to build a home out here, or buy one. And it continues like this all the way up to the summit. But the other thing I want to convey is that here in Hawaii, the eruptions don't necessarily occur at the summit of the volcanoes as often as, actually more often here on Kilauea. They occur from the sides of the volcano, along what we call rift zones, or weak spots, linear weak spots in the Earth's crust. So I'm looking for another lava flow that comes out, kind of comes out here all by itself. We call it the Pahoa flow. There's another flow that came off the Pu'o vent, and kind of unique. And this is a flow that ran in 2013 into the first month of 2014. We call it the Pahoa flow because it made a beeline right towards the town of Pahoa. It was an above ground flow that ran just Mauka, the east drift zone. And it ran for 4 months along the surface, very, very slow moving. And we're going to follow that Pahoa flow to its end and see where it goes. So you see what we've done now, we've kind of done this big circle or loop around the east drift zone. So now we're flying to the east along the east drift zone on the other side of it, or Mauka, the east drift zone. Do you guys, have you ever heard those words, Mauka and Makai? Do you guys know what I'm talking about? In Hawaii, we have these terms that we use to establish our direction, and it dates back to the first Polynesians. But they didn't think, when they were on the island, they didn't think in terms of east and west and north and south. They thought in terms of Mauka and Makai. Mauka means towards the mountain, and these volcanoes are always centered in the center of these volcanoes, the center of the island. So if you were to say, I am Mauka, the east drift zone, it means I'm towards the mountain, towards the volcano, or volcano side of whatever it is you're referring to. Makai means towards the sea. And so if you were Makai something, you would be closer to the ocean. So that's how they kind of talk in terms of directions, Mauka and Makai. If you spend lots of time here on the islands, you'll hear those terms for sure. Anyway, the Pahoa flow, I'm kind of Mauka the Pahoa flow right now. The Pahoa flow is kind of there over to the right. I'm going to intercept it here in just a little bit. It was a 4-month-long flow that kind of inexorably moved to the east, and right up off our nose, it kind of makes this 45-degree turn to the left, and that got some people really, really nervous, because out there you can see those homes out there. The buildings and structures you see out there is the town of Pahoa, and that's why this flow gets the name Pahoa flow. So right off the right-hand side, oh cool, rainbow right out there. Right here, the flow takes a left-hand turn, and then it forks into 2 branches, both branches going right towards the town of Pahoa. Pahoa, believe it or not, is one of the fastest growing communities in the whole United States. But as the flow turned, the folks got anxious, and then eventually they evacuated the entire town of Pahoa.
What brings people to Pahoa?
Inexpensive real estate. Yeah, so this is all what we call Lava Zone 1, which is the most dangerous on the island. So you're not going to get homeowners insurance when you're home out here, unless you went through like Lloyd's of London, but you're not going to get regular old homeowners insurance. Anywhere else on the island, Lava Zones 2 and higher, you can get regular homeowners insurance. In fact, it's mandated by the state of Hawaii. If you're in Zone 2 or higher, you have to offer it. Lava insurance, essentially. But yeah, you can get some very inexpensive land. In fact, if you want to go buy a lot of land, the most current eruption site, the Leilani Estates eruption site, is right off the right-hand side in the distance now. So we're kind of flying down the other side of it now. You can buy a lot of land. I saw a lot of land advertised there for $2,500. And it was a great ad on Craigslist. It said, I put $80,000 into this, it's fenced, and I got travertine shower walls, and then at the very end of it, it says, but it's all under 15 feet of lava. Anyway, you can buy that lot for about $2,500. That's what he was offering him. Here you can see the Pahoa flow. The two forks to it. The one way over to the right goes right all by that green vegetation there. The buildings here, like 4 or 5 white buildings with the green roofs, that's the Pahoa Recycling Center. You can go down to the Pahoa Recycling Center today, stick your fingers through a chain link fence and touch the lava flow. That's how close it came to the recycling center. But it rolled in there into town a quarter mile from that large green building on the other side of the green vegetation. That's the Pahoa School. So folks at Pahoa School, the kids there were really bummed out that their school didn't get taken out and they got out of school for like a year or whatever. And right here, this white building here, that's brand new construction. That's the Punakai Mall. They're just building that. It's going to be a big market, a Malama market. They're building it less than a quarter mile from where the end of that 2014 Pahoa flow ended. So people here have a very interesting view of the way things should work. They feel that if it's your time, Madam Pele will take you home no matter what. I don't know. That's not a great summary of the beliefs here. But there's a balance that folks believe that for every home that's taken, an acre of new land will be created in response. I'll be right back with you guys. I got to make a couple radio calls here.
There's traffic in the sky and it doesn't seem to be getting much better. There's kids playing games on the pavement, drawing waves on the pavement. Shadows of the planes on the pavement. It's enough to make me cry, but that don't seem like it will make it feel better. Well, maybe it's a dream, and if I scream it will burst at the seams. Whole place would fall into pieces, and then they'd say, well, how could we have known? I'll tell them it's not so hard to tell. No, no, no. You keep adding stones, soon the water will be lost in the well. And puzzle pieces in the ground, no one ever seems to be digging. Instead they're looking up towards the heavens with their eyes on the heavens. The shadows on the way to the heavens. It's enough to make me cry. That don't seem like it will make it feel better. The answers could be found, we could learn from digging down. But no one ever seems to be digging. Instead they'll say, well, how could we have known? I'll tell them it's not so hard to tell. No, no, no. You keep adding stones, soon the water will be lost in the well. And words of wisdom all around, but no one ever seems to listen. They're talking about the plans on the paper, building up from the pavement. The shadows from the scrapers on the pavement. It's enough to make me sigh. That don't seem like it will make.
So Hilo turns out to be a training center for air traffic control, and I'm having a little trouble getting a response. He's a little busy right now, though.
It's really not so hard to tell. No, no, no. If you keep adding stones, soon the water will be lost in the well, lost in the well.
All these areas that are squared off by trees, what's in there?
That's macadamia nut in there. It's our #1 crop here on the island. Okay, I finally got him. I had to prompt him though. I'll be right back with you.
From the mountain to the ocean, from the windward to the leeward side.
Over to the left, you can see a little bit more macadamia. To the left, that macadamia, that farm there is controlled by the Hershey's company. You know, everyone knows Hershey's. Over here, this is this is Mauna Loa macadamia nut company property. That's the biggest mac nut farm on the right.
Beef stew on our stove, no mess salmon with the ice. We eat and drink and we sing all day. Connie coffee lie in the old Hawaiian way on the island.
So here at the Mauna Loa mac nut farm, this is where they grow the regular macadamias. Over at the Hershey's, that's where they grow the chocolate-covered macadamia nuts. That was a joke.
We do it island style. From the mountain to the ocean, from the windward to the leeward side. We go grandma's house on that weekend, clean yard cars. If we don't go, grandma gotta work hard. Yeah. You know my grandma, she like the boy real sour. I love my grandma every minute, every hour on the island. We do it island style. From the mountain to the ocean, from the windward to the leeward side. On the island, we do it island style. From the mountain to the ocean, from the windward to the leeward side.
One beach back there, would that be considered a black sand beach?
Sorry about that. I was called. What beach were you referring to?
The new beach, would that be a black sand beach?
Yeah, definitely a black sand beach out there at Pohoiki.
We eat and drink and we sing all day.
Of course, Hilo International right here. This is where we took off, and you can see your cruise ship, Pride of America, just down there right off the nose. What we're going to do is cross the airfield and then head on out to a place called Onamea Bay, and then just beyond Onamea Bay there's a small little waterfall called Onamea Waterfall, and we're going to take a look at that. It's not the biggest or best waterfall on the island by any means, but it gives us a little taste of what we got here on the island. We have hundreds of waterfalls here on the Big Island. The biggest waterfalls are kind of on the other side of the island off the Kohala volcano. And we got a base over on the other side of the island at Waikoloa. That's actually where I normally work, and we do tours out to the waterfalls all day. And the waterfalls out there, are, some of them getting over 1,000 feet high, including the 13th largest in the entire world, the 2,000-foot by Hilo. But these are like a pair of cascading 50-footers at Onamea. So we'll have a quick look at that.
I can see clearly now, the rain is gone.
You guys have asked me the best questions all day. Thanks. Makes me think.
Sunshiny day. It's gonna be a bright, sunshiny day.
Is it common for lava eruptions to create new beaches?
Yeah, that's one source of the black sand beaches here on the island. So what happens is the lava pours off into the water. So you got like 2,000 or maybe 1,600 degree or bahoy hitting 85 degree water, and the reaction is like an explosion. And so it just explodes into all sorts of different particles. Hold on one second.
Bright, sunshiny day.
And so when that explosion occurs, it just, that lava just instantly solidifies and then busts into various sizes of particles, from sand-sized particles of volcanic glass, that's the source of our black sand beach, to boulders. And some folks got a little close to that activity during last year's eruption. They went out there on the tour boats. And it was really cool, I'm sure, because they could get really close to where the lava would pour into the sea. But there was a case where one of those lava bombs, one of those bigger boulders, went into the air and came right down through the canopy of the boat and severely injured some of the passengers last year.
I can feel
So you want to get close, but you don't want to get too close. The white sand beaches on the island, the source of that is wave action on coral. There's fringing coral all around these islands. And so that kind of breaks up the coral. The coral gets washed up on the beach, and the coral initially darker in color, but then it gets bleached out by the sun. So that's one source of the white sand beach. Onomea waterfall over here on the left-hand side. Coming up here, I'm going to kind of slow here, put it off. Well, I'm going to do a little bit of an orbit out here, but you're going to see it first off the left-hand side there, Sheila.
it's gonna be a bright.
Onomea Falls, just down there to the left.
It's gonna be a bright, sunshiny day. Yeah. It's gonna be a bright.
Anyway, just a kind of a small taste of what we got out here. There's hundreds of waterfalls out there. The largest one you can get to by car called Okaka Falls, which is about 400 feet high. But the ones on the Kohala coast pour right off these 1,000-foot cliffs into the water. It's just a sight to behold. They're really amazing.
We saw those on our tour on the cruise ship.
Oh, did you? Yeah, they're amazing out there. All right, we're going to come back in and we're going to buzz your ship, and then we're going to make a landing. Before we land, just a couple things I want to cover. Oh, hold on. I got to make one more radio call.
The door. Yeah. The monster waves.
So after we land, got a big request, and that is to stay seated. Don't open the doors. We'll open them for you. When you exit, please go forward to the safety box out there. Once you get out there, make sure you go there first before you try to take photos. But once you get out there, you can take photos, and then they'll help you get closer to the helicopter if you want photos of yourselves in that fashion. So they'll help you with that. They start to get panicky if you stop outside that safety box for photos, or if you go running after something you drop. If you do drop something, we'll get it for you. If you get to the other islands, we've got tours in Maui, Kauai, Oahu, and then I talked about the base I normally work out of Waikoloa. If you get a chance, we'd love to hear from you on social media or inside. We got these guest ebooks. If you sign in there, we'd love to hear all about that. Hear all about your experience today.
What's a chopper like this cost?
This particular one, this is one of the best ones we got in our fleet. This one's about $3 million as equipped. Some of our older ones probably worth about $1 million. So in that range.
And the surfers all join in now. When the massive day is through.
The seawall there, it's about 2 miles long, built in 1901, offers a little bit of protection to ship that come into Hilo. Hilo is considered like the second best harbor in natural harbor in the state. Pearl Harbor is by far the best, though, because Pearl Harbor has a lot of inland protected area, so that's why our 7th Fleet is located there.
Who made it back today? Oh yeah, oh yeah. It's a surf party, locals only, breaking 20 feet.
Hilo hit by tsunamis in 1946 and 1960, so seawall wouldn't do anything to protect against a tsunami, but both of those doing tremendous damage. You can see right along the coastline there, all that green there. That was Japantown that was built right down to the water's edge. But after the last tsunami in 1960, they just left it as a buffer zone out there. So if you walk around down there, there's this old clock tower that never moves. It's stuck to 105 to commemorate. 105 a.m. was when that tsunami hit. They just leave it there. Thanks again, you guys. Thanks for flying with me. Thanks for flying with Blue. Thanks for all your awesome questions.
Thank you.
Hope you have a great rest of your cruise. Take care, you guys. Peace, mahalo.
Thank you.
Good answers.
You can't fake answers anymore because Google and all that, right? Be instantly checked.
Locals only, breaking 20 feet. Surf party, locals only, you better just take heed. Surf party, locals only, breaking 20 feet.
What other things do you do with the longer flights?
The second half of our longer flight is basically the tour we just did, and then the first part, actually the first part of our longer flights is what we just did. Then the second part, we go down the Hamakua coast to those waterfalls and explore that in a lot of depth. But you can also take a shorter waterfall-only tour out of Waikoloa, which would be a great complement to this one because it would kind of duplicate our longer tour.
Okay, this one's for Gabby.
Okay, they'll be over in just a second to open the doors.